How's it guys? Karl here. I hope you're all doing good and well and trying to keep warm in this freezing cold Joburg at the moment. So I was at the expo chatting to a couple of people this weekend with the outdoor photo Godox um, filmmakers expo. So I had a couple of people ask me some questions because they have seen some of my stuff that's actually on obviously social media and stuff like that. They say, Carl, how do you get all these stunning portraits? You must have like very expensive lights, or you must have lots of lights, and to get that type of work. And it's not true. You don't need to have these big expensive lights, although it's great to have these lights for different things. Okay, so you'll use certain lights to get certain looks, and or if you need to kick power, if you're outdoors and you need to kick power, then you need your 400s and your 600s to actually be able to overpower sun and all that type of stuff to get that type of look. But in studio, I mainly use my 8300s and my 8400s I use, which is on minimal power. So I'm talking about 132, 1/16th power on the 8400 in studio. And my 8300s, 1/16th, 1/8th power in studio, depending on what we're doing. I mean, I sometimes have them running at 128, 256, depending on what they are doing. So a lot of people, when they start out, they think they need to get all these lights. Okay, now it is nice to go to Godox and go and buy all these lights because they're nice to have. I mean, light is light, and you can never have enough lights. So I'm going to start off with just using one light. So we're going to do a sort of portrait shot with Dolly, our in-house mannequin head, which I've put on a light stand, and she's got a nice little jacket on. So we're going to actually do a sort of a setup where we're going to use one single light. Now, I'm not going to use anything fancy, although I do really like this. I really do like this light. Now, this cable, I'm going to be tripping over this thing just now. Nothing special, just a speed light. So if you are a photographer, you must have a speed light somewhere in your kit. Yeah, put that there. So this is a Godox speed light. This is the TT600. Now I love these flashes. I shoot events with these TT600s on my camera with the nice little silicone baller key. So I actually shoot with a manual flash most of the time. I don't have any other speed lights. I just need strobes because that's where my main focus is. But this little speed light is a workhorse. The TT600 from Godox is a real workhorse. So we're going to actually use this light with this softbox. Now what softbox do we actually have here? It is a Godox 35 by 120 strip box. And you're thinking, Carl, why are you going to be using a strip box for portraits? I mean, you need a nice big 120 centimeter octabox, or one of these other nice sort of glorious soft boxes that you can get that can put some nice light on somebody. Yes, you can get those. But if you're starting out and you're on a tight budget, you have a speed light in your bag, hopefully it is a Godox one, and to get hold of a strip box, these things are not expensive. Comes with the double diffuser, comes with the grid as well, which is something that we're going to be using just now. And when I shoot portraits, I tend to shoot horizontal if I'm going to be doing this type of thing. So you're going to see in this setup how simple this is. One speed light and a thing. Yeah, and a thing. And a thing. Yes, a thing. A softbox thing. So I'm going to set this up, and then I'm going to be going through what my camera is. So my camera also, nothing really spectacular. It's my 12-year-old Canon 60, but nothing spectacular. I love this camera. Okay, so this is a Canon 60 digital SLR. I've got the 24-105 f4 lens. There you go. If I can get that focus there. There you go. 24-105 f4 lens. The orange cable coming out the side is actually the tether cable. Okay, that is actually connected to my computer. So down here you will see in the corner of the screen as I shoot, the pictures will come up there, and hopefully the pictures will be decent. But anyway, let's look at setting up the speedlight. So we're just going to get this speedlight into the back of the softbox. Now I have something on the back here which is a S2 bracket. Okay, S2 bracket. I put my 8300s in here so I can get the Bowens mount softboxes actually on to the lights. Okay, now people are going to ask me, Karl, why do you put your flash vertical like that? It's because I don't have the little filler piece at the bottom. It's in the cupboard, and yeah, that is the only reason why. Okay, that is it. Nothing special, no secret sauce. That is it. All right. So we've actually got the light. Now we can actually set this up plain straightforward. What we're going to do is take the shot where everybody starts. 45 degrees to the model. I won't even have the bounce board in yet. We'll keep that over there. 45 degrees to the model. We'll lift it up so it's actually, the light is coming down. That's more of a natural thing. The sun is always in the air and the light's falling down. Lights in studio are falling down, so it's the more natural, not Halloween-y type stuff. Okay. All right, so I'm going to lift this up. 45 degrees to the model, and before I forget, we're going to turn on the actual light. Now I've got the actual TT600 set up to receive a signal from the trigger. Okay, I have done other shows where I've showed how to do that. Okay, I'm gonna, where should I start? Maybe a quarter power on the flash, because it is a speed light. It's not an 8300 or anything. So I'm gonna start it off at a quarter power. Let me just turn that one off. So just so you can believe me, there you go, quarter power. And I'm using the X3 trigger. So if you've actually got other triggers like the X Pro 2, this is the X Pro 2, this is how the other triggers actually look. This is the touchscreen one, which I kind of like. All right, so we've got the light into position, 45 degrees to the model. We've got the model looking towards camera, and we've got no bounce board. Now, I call it my black canvas. So I'm going to turn off the trigger. So the trigger is off. The trigger is not on. Okay. So you can see my camera settings there, but you'll probably see it on the thing. 100 ISO, 160th. Oh, it's not focusing. There you go. Okay, so it's 160th, 100 ISO, and f8. All right. So let me take the shot without any flash, and we should get an absolute blank picture. There you go. There's the two images that come in. The one is the RAW, one is a JPEG. That is it. That is our canvas. So let's actually set the light on. Let's take a shot and see what does actually happen. Okay. So to me, because she's wearing a hat now, I put a hat on her on purpose because I want you to see if you have your light up too high and you've got a peak cap on your model or your model's wearing, and you've got one single light. Look how much of the forehead and stuff is actually in the actual shadows there. Although it's not a bad shot, but we can drop it down just a bit, still above, and let's take another shot. Okay, so we got a little bit more light going in underneath the actual image. So if I look at this image, we've got light going in, we've got some nice shadow down the side. It's doing its job. So the background isn't white, it's light gray. That means there is light getting there, because if it wasn't getting there, it would be black, which we will actually show that as well just now. So if we want to bring in a little bit more light with our single light, I'm going to bring the board in, and then we're going to take another shot. Just want to try and frame it to the same. Okay, so there we go. We've lightened up the shadows a little bit. There's a bit more light, and the background even looks a little bit dark, lighter. Why? Because light is coming here. It's going onto the background. It's hitting this board, and light is bouncing off this board onto the background as well. So we've actually lit up the actual background a little bit more by adding in the board as well. So there is things around this where we can control light, and you say, yeah, no, that's great, Karl. That's, you know, that's pretty standard type of shot. I mean, you can put another board here and bounce light up into the actual chin of the actual model. So if you had either one of the curved things or a board, you can bring more shadow, take away the shadows a little bit more there, and you can build it up. Now we're just using one speed light. Okay. All right. So now you say, yeah, but what else can we do with one single light? I mean, this is one simple setup. Standard 45 degrees to the model. What if we just did that? So we just turn the softbox. What do you think is going to happen? So let me take a shot. Sorry for my back to the camera, but let's take a shot here. And okay, it's not so bad. Still got the fill coming in, we've still got that, but we've now got a bit of a darker background, a bit of a gradient from the top. Now the reason why that is because the light's coming out of here, hitting the background, this section of background in this top corner, behind the softbox. So that is where the dark area is, over there. Okay, the softbox isn't getting light there, so it starts to get darker and darker and darker. Now, with this image, that's quite cool. We've actually managed to get a bit of sort of darker background. But now, what if I want to go even more darker? Now, I'm working in a space which is probably around about a 3-meter space. So it's not a huge space. The wall on the back is just a painted wall that we made up for the cycle. Okay, so it's getting darker and darker. Let's take another one. And all I'm doing is actually moving the softbox around till you get different effects. And I haven't changed anything. I haven't changed the power of the light. I haven't changed my camera settings. All I've done is actually move the light around. So just with one speed light, this is the type of stuff you can actually do. What if we take the board away? I'm going to just take the board away, but put it on the black side. Let's see what we get here. So the amount of fill that that whiteboard was actually bringing in from the previous shot, you can see now we've really now got the deep shadows and stuff in there. What if now we wanted to throw a bit of light on the background, but also into the model? So what I've got is I've got the light now facing there. So we've got light coming here, we've got dark shadows. This is going to now bounce light back in, but the angle of this board is also going to bounce light in onto the background. So let's see what we get in on the background here. There you go. So the background, we've got the fill, we've got a bit of light coming into the background, creating a bit of a separation to the actual subject. So that is great. But what if you now want to get a nice moody type shot that you actually want to... I'm going to just take a shot from this angle just so I've got one as a reference. Shoot that portrait. So we've got this shot where we've got light bouncing in on the background, we've got the light on the model. If I take this away, what are we going to get? So we've got like almost like a low-key type shot on there. Obviously there is things you can actually do by adding the grids to the actual softbox as well. Now the grids actually come with the Godox 35 by 120s. So this is it. These are going to be your best friends, especially when you're working in small sort of tight studio spaces. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on and we're going to actually work around using a grid and see how much more you can actually get away with, and also how much light it actually steals away from your lighting. Okay, so I'm just going to put it up so it's all Velcro, so you just stick it up. Now I'm going to take the same shot what I took here with the grid on, but before doing that I'm going to explain exactly what a grid actually does. So the grid is going to actually not focus light, it's going to direct light. Okay, so with the grid it's going to direct the light, it's going to reduce that spill that comes out of your softbox. Okay, so that is the main reason for this. So if I stand where the model's standing here, I can still see white squares here, so that means light is going to come across my model and hit her. Okay, how much light we don't know yet until we take a shot. If I step back here behind the model, I don't see any light coming out this way to hit the background. Okay, if I actually stand over here, I don't see any light, and obviously if I stand over here, I don't see any light. All right, so that means now that the same type of shot that we did there, where we actually had very little light hitting the background, even though she's only about 1.5 meters away from the background, the white background is made black, dark. Okay, also with the grid, how much light are we going to actually lose by putting a grid on a softbox? We're going to lose at least about 1 stop of light. So if I'm tripping over my tether cable, if I actually look at what we were shooting, so we were shooting at 1/4 power. So I'm going to actually take this up to 1/2 power on the flash. Okay, so just to show you there, 1/2 power, focus, please focus, there you go. 1/2 power, and that is what we're going to be doing. With the grid on, I'm expecting her to be quite dark. Yeah, look at that. How much the light is from when we actually had this shot where we had no grid on to this shot with the grid on. So that means there's not enough light getting to the model. So even though I can see over here the amount of light, but it's the direction of it is actually not really touching too much. We're getting sort of very little actually brushing across the model itself. So what can we do? We can do this. By turning that actually back, you can see in the camera you've got no white squares actually showing on there. If I go to the model, behind the model, I've got no squares there. I can start seeing some that may fall off on this side, and then obviously nothing here. The model can see a lot more light, so let's take another shot. And there you go. So we've got a lot more light now hitting the model by just moving the softbox. How much can we move it before we hit the background? Just go behind. Very little here. Here we got, I think that we should be still safe there. Take a front shot. Okay. Now remember, if we actually angled our board parallel to the light, what's going to actually happen is it's going to hit there and go into the background. So let's take a shot here. Now you see how much light is now going. That's just having this board in place actually throws that much light back onto your background. So when you do your fill, you want to make sure that your position of your board is not going to throw light back into the background. There you go. All right, so that is about it. So that is doing some portraits with one single speed light, having the actual ability to be able to control light, and also make sure that you can get gray backgrounds. You can get, I mean, if you had your model right up against the background, you can actually put the light 45 degrees or whatever. As long as the light's hitting the background, then it will actually change or get lighter, or it will go darker depending on what your amount of light you're putting onto it or allowing it to spill onto the background. Now obviously you can, like with the boards where we actually positioned it sort of parallel to where the light was, basically light hitting that board, going back to the background. That is how light works. Parallel to there, light's going to come out, it's going to hit there, and then it's going to bounce back and hit the background. So you can actually work around it, you can create that separation, you can create the type of shot that you want. Let me just take one more shot here just to show you guys. From dark to a lighter background. Still dark, but there is separation between the model and the actual background because she's wearing dark clothes, a dark hat, but we've created quite a nice shot with a dark background with a white wall. All right, hope that's actually helped. Any questions around this, please let me know. You can DM me, you can, if you're on my WhatsApp groups, then you can just WhatsApp me and ask me any questions around this. But using one speed light, guys, one speed light, nothing fancy, just a manual TT600 Godox speed light and a softbox, and that was it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Cheers for now.